Our little Canada geese, I think there's 2 fathers and 2 mothers over there. They produced about 8 little goslings, and they just walk them around and walk them around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ain't they cute? The little cute goslings. They hear me, I guess, to see the dog, and then they run underneath their mom and dad, or run underneath mama anyway. They'll be gone in a few weeks, and we won't see them again until next year. They don't seem to be bothered at all by the horse. They found themselves a nice little home over here in the spring. They'll be back probably every year. Here comes the other 2, I think. Yep, there they come. Yep, they're landing over there in the water. Yep. There's a little closer view. They got away from this closer area when they saw me coming up. I've got to give the old horse his apple. I give him an apple about every day or every other day whenever he's at the fence. Well, hello again. Last time we left off and I said I had to fill the differential with oil. That has been done, and we needed to hook up the black hose to the differential axle, the actual housing and vent tube, which has also been done. And I also found a tailpipe bracket that I had loosened up for who knows why. I went ahead and put the bolt back into that. So the rear end is done. The rear end is complete mechanically. And of course that doesn't include the bumper and the taillights, which we'll get to. I'm really looking forward to doing that. I really want to do that. I want to get some of that Flitz chrome polish or metal polish, I guess it is, called Flitz. And other people use this stuff called, I think it's called SEMA, but I saw a test on YouTube where they did both of them and it seemed like they're both the same. Why pay more for the, I think it's called SEMA. So I'll be using Flitz with the buffing pad, and we'll get all this painted up in ship shape and looking good. Get this gasket back on here. It's going to be good. Right now, let's go to the front and I'll show you what we're going to have to do here. I hope to get all this done today, except for the master cylinder. That's going to take a while. This was the original fuel pump. If you'll remember, it had this filter on the bottom of it. It was a canister filter, fuel filter. You put it in there, and the pump's probably good, but you know, I don't know. It looks like an original to me. It's been around a long time. I just didn't like this canister filter stuff. It goes back to when I was a kid, when we had oil filters that were canister, just like this. Big giant canister, and went up underneath the engine, and then you had to unscrew it and clean it all out and put the new filter inside and run it back up and screw it back on. It had a bolt down through the middle with a gasket here. A lot of them leaked, you know. I didn't like doing it. It was a messy job changing oil back in those days. But then they came out with the old throwaway canister. Matter of fact, the 57 Chevy 283, when I first got it, that was the car my son has now. When I first got it, had that canister on there. And then I found out you could get an adapter kit to use, you know, the throwaway screw-on filters like this. Man, I ran down to the auto parts store and I got one of those. All it took was 2 bolts. Screwed it in. After that, ever since then, the 283's been using the throwaway screw-on filters. Well, that canister business, I just hated it. I didn't care if it was, I don't care if it's fuel or oil or what it is, it's gone. Anyway, I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, I said, God, if I could just get a fuel pump that didn't have this canister. And one of our subscribers, I can't remember who it was, I haven't gone back and looked, it would take me forever to find it. He said, well, John, you know, Summit Racing sells them without that canister. And I said, really? Well, I went to Summit Racing, if you'll recall, and sure enough, there it is. There it is. The new and improved fuel pump for the 390 Ford without that stupid canister. Of course, what you have to do is you have to put an inline fuel filter. And, you know, the smart guys always put an inline fuel filter on this thing anyway, but this thing was rusty downside, had a lot of gook. I'm not sure the last time it was ever even changed. But we're going to put an above board, you know, going into the new 40. This carburetor's on the way out. We're going to put that 4100 Autolite in, and the fuel line will go in from the front. And we're going to put a inline fuel filter in there somewhere. Okay. By the way, before we start jacking the car up, I've been putting this Ford Thunderbird brand new. It's a big battery. I've been putting this battery on trickle charge, maybe once every month for about a day or so to keep it charged up. just letting it sit around, it would eventually go down. These things are not cheap. This was not a cheap battery. This cost a fortune. But we put it on trickle charge and keep her up. Hopefully I'll be able to get it back in. I'll tell you what, guys, by the 3rd week in May, I hope to have this car running and backed out of here, because the hot weather will be right on my tail. And I don't want to get caught in the hot weather again like we did last year. It took forever to get it out of the carport, and after that it wasn't much good. One other thing that I want to tell you what's going to happen in the future. I've got a hankering to paint this Thunderbird myself, repaint it, sand it down, you know, do all the prep work and everything, get it done. But it's been a while since I painted a car. I mean, I've got everything I need to do it. Spray paint, I mean the spray gun, compressors, everything I need. But it's been a while since I painted a car. So I'm thinking about practicing first on the old Toyota pickup. It needs a good paint job. It'll be my little practice dummy. And that car runs perfect. There's not a thing wrong with it. Just needs a good paint job put on it again. So if we can pull that one off using a spray gun, and maybe we can do the same with the Thunderbird. So, you know, that'll be down the pike. I just to kind of let you know what's going on. Let's get back to the fuel pump. I think she wants to go help me put the fuel pump on the Thunderbird. I can see it in her eyes. No, don't say no to me. Now this T-Bird has unibody construction, so it's very difficult to find a place where you can actually jack the entire weight of this car up without damaging, you know, underneath. Now right here though, you know, I've got to find a place to put that jack. This is pretty solid steel here, plus we even have more of a brace here. And thing's been dented up a few times. This is what you call a country car, boy. They drove it. Looks like they went mudding with this thing at one time or something. Look how caved in this is right here. It's supposed to be flat. It's just caved right up in there. I don't know. Maybe later on we'll take a look at it. Maybe we can pound it out at a later time, a later date. I don't know. It's just not a big priority right now. So I'm going to be using this big piece of steel right here to do my jacking, to get it up high enough where I can get a jack stand underneath it somewhere in this area. Prop it up with some more boards. And well, at the risk of dragging this thing on, there's more information. Our new folks, those that have recently bought Thunderbirds, they've been contacting me. Some things you need to know on this fuel pump. Now the way these fuel pumps work, this is the old mechanical fuel pump, like I said. Let me get this paper out of the way so you can see it better. There is an egg-shaped lobe on the camshaft. There's egg-shaped lobes all the way down, as a matter of fact, but the one on the front comes around. It looks like an egg. It's you know, it's got a high point and then it goes around to a fat bottom. As that high point comes around, it hits this right here. This thing is mounted like this underneath that lobe. So when that lobe comes around, it'll come around, and the high point will hit it, and it'll push this mechanical rod downward. It's kind of hard to move this one. Very, very tough spring. And this rod will go down, 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 down every time that lobe comes around, it hits it. It just caresses it along the top here, you know, right there. The oil in the engine keeps it oiled, keeps that surface oiled between the two surfaces. This splash, it'll splash it on up in there. Anyway, just pump, and it'll take it, you know, or fuel from the fuel tank and run it up to the carburetor. That's all there is to it. However, there is a difference in these levers. This lever right here has like a little bump on it, a little hump, as you can see. And then that one is the one that fits the 390 engine. You see that hump down there at the bottom, on the bottom one? That one fits the 390 and these other engines, 352, which is a Ford, all Fords. Now if you have a 428, let me see, I don't know what that does. It doesn't have a 428 down here. Anyway, the other type of lever is flat. No hump, flat. And this one here is for the 390 engine in the center, which is what I have. I'm kind of looking for that 428, but I don't see it there. Probably a totally different fuel pump in the 428, I don't know. You'll have to take a look at that. I just wanted you to know that there is a difference between the styles of fuel pumps. So if you have a 390 and you order one and they send you something like that that's flat, wrong one. You need one like that. So here's the deal. Here's your, they send you a gasket along with the pump. It goes in here like so. and it goes on like so over the top of those two screws, and put a little bit of sealer on there and seal it up. Some people don't. I won't do it any other way. I want some sealer on there. Not a ton, you know, but it won't affect it as strong and tough as this is anyway. I just don't want any leakage. However, there is a problem. I don't know if this is right or wrong. I'm going to have to go back and look in the book. Notice the difference in length between the two screws that was holding the original one in. One short, one long. Kind of weird. Matter of fact, it's kind of difficult to get the long one in. It just hardly made the turn to get it in because it kept hitting the head of the bolt kept hitting against the body of the pump. What I've decided to do was take the longest of the two bolts and get underneath the car, screw this in each hole into the engine block and see how far they go in. Because there is a possibility that the short bolt only goes on one side because there may be something down in the hole that stops it. So we have to find out. But if the long bolt will go all the way in until it hits the engine block, you know, the bottom's out, then it won't be any problem. We can use the bolt in either hole. Make it a lot easier. So let me crawl in there and get that done first. Well, I'm glad I went ahead and checked it out using the long bolt in both holes. It turns out, yes, there is a difference. This thing goes into the engine block this way. Down there, down below, just goes into the side of the engine block this way. And the long bolt is the one in the front, the one near the grill of the car, near the radiator, okay, where I'm standing. The long bolt in the front, short bolt in the rear. Now this thing here, this little thing here, now when this thing goes in, you got to kind of put it in at an angle so you get it up underneath that lobe. You know, if you just try to stick it straight in, you're going to be hitting. You're going to say, what is it hitting? Why won't it go? Then you'll go this way, and then you'll go this way, and this way. No, it has to kind of go in at a downward angle, so the lobe, this thing winds up being up underneath the lobe. It doesn't have to be much of an angle, just enough to stick it in there, and then you have to press it pretty hard. And of course, that's after you get your gasket on. I'm going to go ahead and put the gasket on the fuel pump. Right now, I'm scraping the old gasket off the block. A lot of folks don't do that. They say, well, just leave the gasket on the block and put the new gasket on the fuel pump and use a lot of sealer. No, no, no. That's not the way I do things. Let me talk to safety one more time, guys. I want to stress this to the guys that are just learning or want to work safely, can't get enough of the safety aspects. I have two jack stands underneath that big old heavy bracket there, one there and one there. And then I'm going to keep the jack right there where I raised it. That's up there snug and tight. So I've got 1, 2, 3 in the front, and that's my little 3-ton jack. Now we're not lifting anywhere near 3 tons in the front here. We're lifting a lot, but not that much. And I've got as a triple, or actually quadruple support right there. I don't think anything's going to go anywhere. The car is solid as a rock, not going anyplace. And I've also chalked up the back wheels. You know, even if you think you have your emergency brake on, I don't know how to trust this emergency brake. I've never used the car. Don't know anything about it. So, I mean, I looked under there and it's adjusted right and everything looks good, but you don't trust these cars. I state again, these old cars from the 60s were not very safe to begin with. It doesn't take much to make them even more unsafe, okay? Get that through your head. 60s and 50 cars were not safe. Trust me. They threw them together at the factory. The union workers didn't care. They put them together. There were some that did care. Most did not. They grabbed their salary at the end of the week and they ran. Okay, let's take a quick look around our disc brake area here in the front. See what we got. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, things are not looking good. No, this is not good at all. Let me zero in on some of this stuff. There's the gas line coming from the gas tank. Look at the kink right there. Is that awful? That's horrible. And well, that's got to go. That has got to go. Now that runs over and hooks to this flexible tube right here. So let me back up here. It hooks onto the flexible tube right there. So I do have a couple of options on this. If the rest of this pipe is good going all the way up, I could cut it right here and put a little longer tube to run around down that way. Of course, I'd have to worry about that edge right there. I'd have to make sure the edge is not sharp at all. But that kink right there, that's not going to get it. No, 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 no. That sucks. And let me see. Let's take a look at our caliper. Ooh, man, very bad rusted line right there going into the caliper. Top and bottom, really bad. That's got to go. And there's the brake line back there sitting. Oh my goodness. That's the brake line on top right there, going up to the master cylinder, or actually up to the junction block. That's in bad shape too. That's got to go. And well, what do we have over here? Well, here's something really sweet. It's always something, always something. You know, the hand of man. Every time the man nowadays touches anything, it's all screwed up. Okay, what we have here is this thing's been bent up, the inside of the fender. I don't know why. And that fuel line, let's see what that fuel line has to offer. That fuel line is screwed into something. Looks like it's, yeah, it's screwed into another line right behind this thing right here. So this is going to have to come out. All this is going to have to be banged back down. There's a bolt missing right here that held it. Here's one where the bolt's almost all the way out. Sad, sad, sad. All this is going to have to be done. It's going to need new shocks. Check out the shocks. They're not in very good shape. All right, let me see. Let's look around a little bit more. And I'll be disappointed if I don't find a mud wasp nest. Look at that. I wonder when the last time those things were greased. That little grease petcock right there. Not a drop of grease on it anywhere. Same thing with this one back in there. No grease been on these things for quite a while. Ball joints. I'll have to check the ball joints. See if they're loose at all. That's another butcher ball joint underneath this cap. That's the grease petcock for it. Oh, now this is nice. Oh, I love this. What do you see there, guys? What do you see there? Yes, you are seeing a broken shock. Look at that. Now I am shocked. Look at this. It's broken. Oh, that's just wonderful, that is. Well, I don't know, maybe it'll buff out. What do you think? Oh well, but anyway, that's not what we're here for today. We'll tackle all this crap later. Look at, even a clamp that holds the fuel line is missing right there. Let me see. You got an all-time look right there. It is right there. There's a clamp that's supposed to hold the fuel line in. That's gone. Something else missing from right there. I don't know what that is. Probably something to hold something on the other side. I don't know what it is. Might be nothing. I don't know. Okay, let's get the fuel pump on. And then we can laugh and joke about all this other crap that we found. And we haven't even looked at the other side of the car yet. Oh, fun and games. Love it to death. I'll tell you what, I better stop what I'm doing for a few minutes. It looks like we're fixing to get another thunderstorm. Not looking too good up there. I need to tie up my tomato plants. I got 4 of them. Yeah, I want to give them a chance in life. Those storms will slam them right to the ground. Alright, back to the task at hand. I feel better all the way around now. I took some sandpaper after I got the gasket all scraped off. I just took a chisel. I had a sharp chisel and reached up in there. It has a nice long handle. I don't have to worry about banging my fingers. I just took sandpaper, as you can see right here. They had it painted blue underneath that gasket. I sanded down the entire surface. Got it nice and shiny, no more gasket. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the gasket on here with some sealer. Crawl back underneath there, put some sealer on the block. Then slip this thing in, as I said, at kind of a down, since it goes in this way with the longer bolt to the front. I'm going to kind of go in at a slight downward angle and then put it in there and try to catch a few threads on the bolts. And once I do that, I can go ahead and take the ratchet, finish it up the rest of the way. Alright, looking up underneath the engine, right there is where our fuel pump goes. Right in that hole right there. The 2 holes. And right here, right where this light is, this is where our oil filter will screw on. I'll have to clean this up real good. I'll give it a light sanding also. So we have a nice seal there too. So I've just had my coffee. I gave this sealer, let me zero in there. I gave the sealer plenty of time to get tacky. We want it to be tacky. It takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes. It'll never harden up. But this thing would actually sit like this. This is the front of the engine on the left. So the fuel pump will go in at a downward angle like that. Well, you know what they say about the best laid plans. Oh, sometimes they just don't materialize. They go astray. I cannot get this fuel pump back in. This handle here is so tight, and there's just not enough room up underneath there. I can't get this thing to bend down far enough to where I can get the bolts to go in straight. They all, you have to get this thing to bend down far enough so you can get a straight-on shot into the bolt holes with the bolts. Well, what's happening is they're going in at an angle because this thing here is having to stay in an angle. Oh, I am not a happy camper. So what I'm going to do is resort to plan B. This is an omen, people. This is an omen. That's all it is. And we're going to go to plan B, which you will see in the next video. Right now, I've got to drain the oil. I'm not farting around with this anymore. I'm fed up with it already. I got other things to do. We have a whole lot of stuff to fix underneath the wheel areas, the brake lines and all that stuff. I can't really afford to be delayed much longer. And like I said, it's an omen. It's saying, John, go with the right stuff. Well, at least we got the oil drained out of the oil pan today. And we did get the filter up. So that's at least two things got done. And we'll take a look at one more thing before we wrap it up. Right now I want to get as much oil as I can into that container over there. Well, lucky us, it all fit in the same container. Now let's find out what these little bumps are. This bugs me here. Hopefully it's just dirt and not metal pieces. No, that's just a bubble. No, I don't feel any metal yet. Nothing hard. Oh, there's a little bump right there. This piece of dirt. Probably from what fell underneath the car. We got tons of mud. Yeah, that's just dirt from underneath the car that fell in the oil while it was draining. Alright, we're good to go on that. Let me see. Next time, we're going to take that shock out. I got to figure out how that's done. Let me show you what we're up against on that before we close out here. Check out where the bottom of that shock is attached. There's a bolt on the left right there, and a nut on the right going horizontal through that reddish colored deal in the center of the spring. Holy mackerel, how the heck am I supposed to get in there and get those two out? Well, I better study that book real good tonight, huh? I'll tell you what, one more thing. Look at the ball joint. This ball joint rubber. Look at that. Just junk. You know, this is what holds you. These are your grease boots, all falling apart, completely shot. I don't know. We may have more in store for us than I had anticipated, but we'll just take it one step at a time, okay? Anyway, until next time, hope you enjoyed it, even though we didn't get a whole lot done. We just kind of scoped things out. This is John. Just a quick note to let you know that I won't be able to watch as many YouTube videos as I used to watch. I don't need to be on the internet that much anyway. We changed ISPs. We left Media 3 South and signed up with HughesNet, the satellite provider. We actually switched over to AT&T for DirecTV, and then of course the satellite dish provider. We opted for the 10 gigabyte plan, but then we went to 20, and then we went to 30 because I'm on one side of the room and the wife's on the other side of the room with her Samsung notebook, you know, and it was chewing up the gigabytes pretty quick. So we managed to work out a plan. It was kind of a touchy-feely thing to figure out how many gigabytes we would need. Now this is per month, so we have 30 gigabytes per month, but we have absolute reliability now, which is something I really needed. The last time Media 3 South was down, it was down for 7.5 days. Not so much as 1 penny of, credit on the bill. I got fed up with it. That was the last straw. It was always down, always down, always down. And then the wifey said, all right, let me just go ahead and call AT&T. So they do give us 50 gigabytes of additional free usage, but it's between the hours of 2 in the morning and 8 in the morning, so which is great. You know, I get up every morning at around 3 o'clock and let the dogs go out and do their little wee, and while I'm up, I'll start my uploads then, so I can do the uploads at that time of the morning, and it doesn't take away from my normal daily usage. And so you'll see that the uploads will be done early in the morning. That's about it. You know, I can't, like I said, I can't watch really long videos. I can't watch 30 and 40-minute videos. I just can't. It just eats up too much. Now, I am watching them at a very low resolution now, 144p. You know, I don't need crystal clarity on a YouTube video unless it's something I absolutely want to see, something to do with maybe a car part or a repair on a radio or something. But other than that, you know, it's just 144p is plenty for me, you know. It's a little blurry, but yeah, but it cuts down on usage, all right? So that's why I haven't been around so much. I can't watch everybody's videos like I used to. And like I said, I need to be out here working on the car anyway. So I'm sorry, you know, I wish I can watch a lot of short ones, and I can, if they're really long videos and I really want to see them, I can probably skip through the video, you know, to cut down on the amount of megabytes that I'm chewing up. So just to let you know that if I don't comment as much as I used to, it's not because I want to. I'm kind of forced into this position. It was either no ISP, or you know, every time I turn around and down, it just frustrate me and irritate me to no end, or go with a satellite, and you know, you can kind of find a way of working around the excessive usage so we can have it all month long. So I appreciate, you know, hanging with me in this situation.